This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so coming to the Groovy, so first we'll try to understand what we are going to cover, okay, and then we will try to write one basic hello world program also, so that you will get idea whether this Groovy is easy or not, okay. So I'm not going to use any, already written code, something like that. I'll not copy from somewhere like that. Everything I'll type here in the session itself and I'll explain. So don't expect any existing code. If you want, I'll share it like, that text files, whatever, if you want, maybe in future sessions. But everything here we will discuss based on that particular session, what topics we are going to cover like that. So that is the reason. First, I'm going to give you all the topics, what exactly we will cover, and then how many hours generally it takes. Okay. And then we will see what is actually difficult part here, and then what need to concentrate more when we learn the Groovy. Okay. So generally it is required for basic to intermediate level. So I can say here basic to intermediate level because the advanced level is nothing but platform related because Groovy is everywhere. It's a scripting language. Now if you see, as I told, I'm in DevOps. So DevOps we use like when we develop something CI/CD pipelines, and then we use actually in the Jenkins, and then we use for automation. So this all like based on the requirement again. At the same time, people are using in cloud nowadays. We are getting a lot of students from SAP CPA. So almost last 2 years we provided training only for them. I don't know why people, but many people are coming from SAP CPA, and then other platforms also. Like some of the people are coming from like development people. Like for example, there is a Grails framework, Groovy and Grails. Of course, Grails only less people are using. It's like a framework. So if you want to develop some web applications using with Groovy, we can do that. And also middleware people like who all are working with something WebSphere, WebLogic. So they are also using Groovy, but we can say that actually like they are using like something uh, something like instead of Java while installing the applications they're going with Groovy. It is very easy to apply. So let's try to understand here what exactly the Groovy. So basically, like we will go.
One more question, like why we have to use Groovy only? What is the use? Like we have shell script, other script, right? Or what is the purpose of using Groovy? Because I'm from cloud background. So
Yeah,
what is the use of this?
you'll understand that now. So for example, see, okay, what is the difference between other scripting and Groovy? So for example, if you take a shell script or Perl or Python, okay. So these all the languages, if you see, are PowerShell also. There are a lot of scripting languages like this. And here we have a Groovy. So if you go with shell scripting or Perl or Python or PowerShell, these all the languages are independent. For example, shell scripting, if you have a Linux and if you have a Linux commands idea, and then you can write actually shell script to automate the Linux administration related platform, like any administration related, you can automate it. Or whatever you are working with the Linux platform, so you can simply automate using with shell script. And Perl Python, something related means relevant. So a lot of things like whatever we are doing with Perl, we can also do with Python. But Python is more popular nowadays because of two things. So one is data science and artificial intelligence, and the second thing DevOps. Because a lot of modules already available. So if you see the repository, like example, we have a something NumPy, Matplotlib, like that. There are machine learning modules, deep learning modules. All the modules already available. We can simply install and then we can work with that. So that is the reason, since it is supporting for advanced, the latest latest software technologies, whatever. If you say like cloud or IoT or whatever blockchain, everything like Python modules by default available, so we can simply use that. That is the reason Python is crazy now. But still, what is the difference, right? That we need to understand. And PowerShell also same, like if you know Windows PowerShell commandlets, this is for same like shell scripting how we are using for Linux, similar way we use for Windows. So Windows automation we can say. So Microsoft also introduced for automation, especially for Windows administration automation, the language PowerShell. So only the commands how we use in Linux, same way. But if you observe everywhere, these are independent. There is no dependency. But the problem now, everywhere, like wherever the it Java involved. Now the problem with Java. So for example, Java, let's say you are not aware of any programming background, but I want to install some application. But Java is difficult here. So Java is more popular if you want to develop some web applications, which means like developing something, any application level, then Java is more popular. But Java not popular for automation. So automation means whatever already available manually, whatever we are doing, we want to automate that instead of doing manual work. Means daily I don't want to run this particular job. Just automate it and then start, maybe create some scheduled job and then start it. So automatically it will start. Example, taking some backup, database backups or something like every 90 days I want to delete existing old logs. These are things. So these are actually what we are doing automation using with this, because the reason these languages are very simple comparing with Java or comparing with programming languages. So we can say the difference here we need to understand, there are two different languages. One is scripting and the other one is programming. So programming languages are more popular for web application developments or enterprise application developments. Scripting languages are more popular for automation. But nowadays, why always like we are using these languages, scripting languages? Because you know, lot of actually like DevOps or cloud or like AI, something. These all we're doing automation backend, everything automation now. So because tools already involved, the backend actually we are using the scripting. That is the reason these languages are more popular. But here, the Groovy internally it uses Java libraries. That means we can say it is independent as well as it always use internally Groovy libraries. Sorry, the Java libraries. So which means whatever if you write using with Java, you can do using with Groovy as well. But whatever you are writing with Groovy, you cannot do with Java. So simply we can say Java is actually subset now for the Groovy. But everything Groovy internally it uses Java libraries. That means if you write some code and if you execute, internally immediately it will check the Java libraries whether it is available or not. And then for example, let's say I want to just define some variable. I want to know what is the type of that variable. In Python, it will check in the Python libraries and then it will give you the okay, this is the type, whether it is integer value or float value or string value like that. But Groovy, internally everything it will verify from the Java library and it will give you. So which means here, the advantage with this, whenever if you're depending on like Java applications and all, so there is no need to again, separately write Java code. If you want to write Java code, you can write it. Or if you want to write Groovy code, you can write it. So it handles both. So that is the reason most of the times if you are working with something installations or if you are using some backend, some Java and then combination, some automation, then people go with Groovy. That is the only difference. But writing code, how you are writing on Python using with Python, or how you are writing Perl, similar style you can write it. Also, if you want to write something like, I assume that, okay, I have a lot of Java libraries. I want to use that. Okay, Groovy it supports because Groovy it is running on JVM only. That is a Java virtual machine. That you will get idea now. So we'll discuss it. I hope it is clear now. Any other questions here?
Now it's clear. Thank you.
So again, question here like, is it required to learn Java also? Basically, not required, but in our training itself, what exactly like the for example, assume okay, I want to understand how we import the Java libraries and how to use that. That we will discuss. So we should aware of what is scripting and what is programming and how we can say there is a scripting language or programming language. This all we will discuss in the maybe first or second session. It's a just demo. I'm giving only like what content we are going to cover, and then we will see one script. I told that JavaScript you can Java program you can execute using with Groovy. We will see that is it really executes or not. We will see. So the first we can say module one. So the module one, what we are going to cover. So the module one, completely Groovy basics. So basics here, first I will try to understand from the installation part. So if you want to work with the Groovy, we must need to install Java as well. As I told already, Groovy, it actually works on JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So if you don't have Java in your system, you cannot work with the Groovy. Because everything there is a dependency, it always checks the Java libraries and from there only it will execute. So where we can install this Groovy. So we have only one source. So you can see Groovy download. So that is a Apache groovy.apache.org. So this is the only one. So there is no any third party like for example, Python APC. There are a number of third party websites. Means there are a lot of distributions for Python, but not like that here. So simply we can download from here, and always recommendation go with either 3 or 4 version. So because the the version 5 also there, but this is still actually alpha version, right? So you can see Groovy 4.0 we can say, or 3.0, 2.5 like that. There are different versions. We will discuss. This is not actually important. The versions and all, since everyone working here. So I recommend to go with either 3 or 4 because the latest versions, it already added a lot of features. Okay. So installation is easy. It is very simple. If you want to go with Windows installer, click on this. But as I told before this installation, we must need to install Java as well. Now, for example, if we see, so
Is that open source? Sorry to disturb you. Is that open
yeah,
source, right?
yeah, it's an open source only.
No need to license one. Okay.
No need actually. So it's a you can see the community version we are using. So no need any licensed for this. This is a community one. So if
Okay.
you see, I already installed Java, right? So for example, Java hyphen hyphen version you can use. I'll tell you how to install Java also. I have something Java 23.02. This is the Java version I am using. And I already have Groovy as well, but I'm just giving here idea how to install, right? This is the one, right? So you can see when we check for Groovy version, it is giving Groovy version as well as the JVM. So there is a dependency here. So assume you just installed Groovy but not install Java. You will not get this output because it internally checks which JVM actually available. Because if the JVM is not available, which is nothing but Java virtual machine, we can say means if you want to run the Groovy program, the Groovy program it is executing on this JVM, that is actually Java virtual machine. It is executing on that. So if you don't have a Java, it will not work. Now you can see this is the Argel Corporation, right? So means what is this Oracle Corporation? Because Java is actually Oracle product. That is the reason. And which OS it is using also it will display. Means sometimes if you go with this latest version like Groovy 4, it will not support for Windows 7 or Windows 8. So it should be Windows 10 minimum or latest version, latest operating systems. That is the reason it will check the OS as well. So the OS it is checking Windows 10. Okay, Windows 10 it works. Right. So simply we can download from here. It takes just 1 minute of time. But before that, Java also required. We will see that installation part in the coming session. And also if you go with this, the complete documentation, everything here itself you can see. But I'm not going to follow the as it is this documentation, but I'm giving idea like the documentation, everything we can see here. You can just check here difference with the Java installation. These all the the basic idea we will get here itself. And if you want to know, if you don't have a time, since we are working everyone like we don't have a time to read a lot of documentation, it provided for that just single page document. So single page document means everything it is there here, like just like single, whatever. For example, if you want to go with some conditional statement, one example, defining variable, one example like that. So this is how we can also go through this documentation here. Okay, so I have installed now, and in the Groovy basics, we are going to understand that how to install Java and how to install this Groovy. And generally, environment variable setup is required. But if environment variables assume that not done proper setup and all, then it will not work. So nowadays, we no need to go with the environment variables modification, nothing required. Automatically, when we install the Groovy, automatically it will come everything. So why environment variables required? Otherwise, for example, if you run this command, see where I'm running on the command prompt. For example, see when we open the CMD here, CMD, right, command prompt, I'm just trying to run this hyphen version. So this is the command, it will give you the Groovy version. So I'm running from this location now. And let's say I'm going to the desktop here, CD, right, change directory. So it is changing the directory now from admin to desktop. On the desktop, I have another directory called Groovy 7am. So I'm again shifting that CD change directory Groovy 7am. I hope these basic commands you are aware of it. It's a DOS commands, even Linux also we use the same. So now I'm in this present working directory. For example, if environment variables assume that environment variables not created, you cannot run this Groovy hyphen version from this location. So which means where exactly Groovy installed, which location Groovy installed, only from that location you can execute this command. But if you have environment variables, it is like a global, means you can execute your Groovy program from any location. That is the reason we create a environment variables to understand this system. By the system, wherever you want to run, whatever the path you want to run, either it is a C drive or D drive or some other location on desktop or somewhere, I want to create my separate workspace, and then I want to execute all the code from that workspace. So we don't want to go every time where this Groovy installed and that particular location. That is difficult thing, right? So that is the reason environment variables required. So for example, if you are installing, assume you installed already Groovy but still not working, then you should know how to fix that as well. That we will see. Okay, in case if not working, then we need to fix. So this all we will cover in the basics. And also writing like hello world program. Anyway, we'll discuss today, but just I'm giving idea. So this all basics we'll understand here in the module. And also the difference between scripting languages, programming languages, what is compiler, what is interpreter. we must need to understand this compiler and interpreter. Otherwise, you'll get a lot of confusion whenever if you are executing the code in advanced level. Because if you don't have idea what is compiler, what is interpreter, then you cannot understand how internally it is actually executing the code, how the binary is converting into high level to binary. This all need to understand. So that is what compiler interpreter we will discuss here. After that, in the model 2, we'll go some basic to something like we can say that defining the variables. So first of all, what is variable? See, the data if you want to store, generally we have only three options, right? So for example, if it is a small data, like I have something text, let's say I want to save my name, so I can just create some variable. So variable equal to some name, or maybe you want to create some value, something I want to assign 10, so then we create some variable name equal to some value, or I want to create some point values 2.5, that is called generally float. So I want to assign that value to somewhere, so we go with variable. So variables we are using to store the data. But remember in Java, when we create a variable, data types must. So means as a programmer, we must aware of it. What is the data type of this variable? What is means we should know what is integer, what is float, what is double, what is long, what is short, what is string, what is char, everything we should know. But advantage with Groovy, you don't need to know this. So you don't need to know because Groovy people are using for automation, not for everywhere like a web development. Of course, we also use this web development, but Groovy popular for automation. So that's the reason we have a both options. If you want to go with the data type, okay, you can use the data type. For example, you are really good in Java, you can create a variable like this. But I don't know anything. I am very new for the program. Okay, no issues. Just define like this. Just a variable name equal to value. That's it. What Groovy will do, internally it will verify what is the data type of this value, and then it will understand from the Groovy Java library, okay, saying that this is an integer value. Define this in as an integer. Internally it will take care of this all the things. That we will see how it will actually define and how we can check whether it is an integer type or float type, everything we'll discuss. So this is one way, right? Defining means variable we are using to store the data. But what type of data? It can be anything here. It can be integer value, it can be a float value, it can be a string value, whatever. You don't need to define the data type. But we do have some advanced storing the data, like we also use file, like this is the text file, right? So the text file I'm using to store the data. And also we use databases to store, right, the data. So there are three ways we generally store. But here variables, whenever like if you are working with some language, most of the time we use either variables or file. But some more advanced level we go with database. So first we'll try to understand variables here and what are the different types of variables available. I'm not talking about data type. I'm talking about variable types. For example, in Python. So this is similar again, I told, right? So in Python, we have a different data structures. Same thing here also. We have a like something numbers. Numbers means it can be an integer value or float value. And we have a strings type. So string again, string when we call it as a string, if you define something, let's say hi, single quote, this is called string. Or double quotes I want to write, this is called string. We can define either single or double quote, no matter. But whatever you define between a single quote or double quotes, that is a string. Now question here, I'm defining 10. Is it an integer value or string value now?
String.
It is a string. So
Yeah.
simple whatever we define between a single or double quotes, it treats as a string. So means even if you write a numeric value or float value, because of these quotes, it treats like a string. So we will understand this here. What is single quoted string? What is double quoted string? What is the difference between these two quotes? And when we use. And then we have a lot of things here, right? So we call it as a arrays or list. So what is list? Okay, so if you define as just a variable numbers or strings, only one value we are defining, something a equal to 10 or b equal to 2.5 or c equal to something hello. But I want to define multiple values. So if you want to define multiple values in the same variable, then we go with list. That is, we call it as arrays. So arrays, again, the difference between Java and Groovy, in Java, it is the same data type. For example, if you are writing one array variable, the values, if you define an integer array, then only int values, 10, 20, 30, 40, like that. Or if you're defining something float, only float values, string values, only string values. But here not like that. Any data type. You can write in one single array combination of integer values, float values, string values. That is possible. So there are a lot of advantages. So we will see that one by one. And then we do have a map. Map is nothing but it's a dictionary type. So dictionary means it's a key and value pair. For example, assume that, okay, I have something, best example, Aadhaar card. So based on Aadhaar card, I want to see the person address, name and address. So Aadhaar card is a unique number, identity number that is called key. Based on the key, we'll get the values. That is called map actually. So wherever if you check, like for example, vehicle number, it's a unique. And if you see PAN number, it's a unique. Passport number, unique. So keys are unique always. But based on the keys, we can get the value. So how we can get that values? Values can be anything, but keys are always unique. So how we define this? And what is the difference between arrays and dictionary? So dictionary, I told just it's a comma separated value. You can define a number of values. But here map is something key value format. Why it is required? If you know map, and then a lot of data we are getting now. For example, if you see online data, most of the time we can see in real time JSON format or maybe XML format. So almost XML nowadays outdated, JSON format. So the JSON data, if you observe, it's always key and value pair, right? If you are aware of JSON, then you can see the data JSON file generally it's a key value pair. So the data, if you want to read with this any language, Groovy or Python, these languages, we simply use map to convert that JSON into map, and then we will read the data from there. That we will understand, okay, how we can define and how to access the data, how to replace the data, how to insert a new key, new value. This all we will discuss in the module 2. And module 3 here, we'll go with. So these are variables, right? So now we should understand even something similar to programming languages, but don't worry, it is very easy here, like operators. What are the different operators available? For example, arithmetic operators, plus, minus, star, like that. We have a lot of operators. So arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical operators, assignment operator, shorthand assignment operator, membership operator, like that. All the list of operators will learn everything in one shot. Because if you know all the operator, for example, if you're not aware of relational operators, it will be difficult to write the condition. So assume you don't know what is greater than, what is less than, how it works, then how we can write a conditional statements, that is flow control. It is difficult, right? So that's the reason first we will go with all operators here and then flow controls. So flow control is nothing but conditional statements, we call it as. So conditional statements, like we have like this simple if and if else and something later if, nexted if, right? Later if, nexted if, like this we have. So why this is required? I want to verify. Let's say, for example, there is a value 100. I want to check whether this 100 is greater than 50 or not. Just giving simple example. Or I want to verify the number is 3-digit number or not. How we know 3-digit number? So something the number is should be greater than 99 and less than 1000. So we are writing some condition for that. If the value is greater than 99, less than 1000, then only accept as a 3-digit number. Or for example, like based on the marks, I want to decide that whether it is a which grade it is. I'm just giving very layman level example here. But we do also discuss that multiple use cases. So we will see how actually we can write this flow control, and you will also get a lot of tasks here. So you should practice based on the topic, whatever we are going to cover. And similar way, we have a loops as well. Loops means like again while loop, for loop. Okay. So how to use while loop? What is generally difference between this flow control and loops? Loops basically we are using for, see, conditional statements only for one time, but loop multiple times. So let's say while loop example I'm giving, let's say you want to verify something, ATM pin. So you can enter pin, wrong pin 3 times, but if you enter more than 3 times, then the pin it will lock, will get the message your pin got locked, something you try after 24 hours, something like that. So you entered wrong pin 3 times. But how it is taking 3 times? That is actually loop, right? So we write something loop only accept 3 times and then validate it and then say that okay, it's not entered correct pin, and then say that like it's not a valid pin, and then you try maybe after some time, something like that. So this all we are doing using with the loops. So repeated times if you want to write, then we go with loop. Okay, this all we will cover in the module 3, operators, conditional statements and loops. And module 4, simply we'll start something intermediate level working with file. So let's say I have already text file. I want to read that text file using with Groovy. So how to read that? Or I don't want to display the output on the command prompt. I want to write everything to the file. So how we can do that? So that is here working with file. We'll understand that. How to read the data, how to write data to the file. So if you know this working with file, and then it will be similar, but we need to add some modules to work with JSON, to work with any other extension files. But this is for normal text file first. But if you want to work with any other extension file, you need to use the module. So first we'll discuss working with file. So we can say this is a file handling concept here. And module 5 will go with regular expression. So this is more important again, regex. So why regular expression is important? Let's say you are writing you have some data in a file. I don't want to print the complete file. I want to just take some pattern. I want to match only some specific pattern, display that data. So wherever some only mobile numbers, 10-digit mobile number matches, I want to search that. Or maybe there is some specific keyword I want to search. So there are a lot of things in regex. We have a wildcard characters, we call it as meta characters, wildcard characters, anchors, identifiers. We use that to search and display the specific patterns. So this regular expression is same in every language, because this regex itself is a separate concept. Every language is using that. Groovy also using. So once if you know the regex here, and maybe future if you are trying to assume you are going to learn Python, then Python also same concept, regex. Perl also same thing. PowerShell also same. Everywhere it is same. In shell we use a grep command basically. That is a regex, right? So these all regular expressions we will see deep dive, means how to search the data based on the patterns. There are a lot of wildcard characters. First we need to understand those characters behavior and then how to apply as a use case. And then module 6 we will cover exception handling concept. So exception handling means handling the errors. I'll assume that every time I'm getting some error. But again, there are two types of error here. One is a compilation error, the second one is runtime error. Compilation error, our responsibility as a programmer, we should fix it. We will discuss that, how to do. That we generally call it as a syntax errors. But runtime errors, when we execute the program, the internally, the language, it will give you the runtime errors. For example, you are giving something 10 division of 0. So we cannot divide with 0, right? So that is 0 division error we call it as. For example, if I open some calculator, so I'm trying to get something 10 division 2. I got output. But I'm just using 10 division 0. So we cannot use that. Cannot divide by 0. This is not a syntax error basically. You are giving two values, numerator and denominator, right? But there is a problem. So this is actually what we cannot provide actually 0, but we provided that. Maybe end user don't know they provided it. And the language should handle that. They don't want, like the language assume that if you provide 0 and then if it stops the execution, that's not good program. So even it provided 0, then should provide some message, okay, saying that don't provide second value as a 0 and then go to the continuation of the program execution. So that is something exception handling. We are handling the exceptions. And module 7 will concentrate on functions. So this is more and more important. The functions we are using generally for reusability. So there are a lot of things in the functions. We'll discuss how to define a function and how to call multiple values and what is return function and what are the function arguments available. So we have something like a keyword arguments, required arguments, like that. We'll discuss all one by one and what is method overloading, method overriding. Basically, this method overloading and overriding concepts, it comes under object oriented. We will discuss that in object oriented only. But whatever here till module 7, everything it's a procedure oriented programming only. So we have a both procedure oriented, object oriented. So we will see what is the difference and how to write. So functions will see the deep dive, and then in the module 8 we will go with modules. So this is something. Module 8 is a content I am giving, right? But topic here itself modules. So what is this actually? Every time I don't want to write new code. So there are already existing libraries. That's what I told, that Java library is already available. So simply how to use that library. Library means it's a module. So how to use that library, and then instead of writing entire code separately, simply already available code as a module, I want to just import that and then use the properties from there. Or even we should aware of it, how to develop our own module. Or maybe in our organization, you may have some repositories. You can also understand how to download that repository modules and then how to use it. So if you know just any one how to use the model, let's say for example, if you know how to write your own model and how to use, same concept even using from existing libraries, or even if you install from somewhere. So concept is same, how we are importing and how to access the properties. So we'll discuss these modules here, how to use, and then module 9 will more focus on object oriented programming. So the object oriented programming actually not required for Groovy, because most of the time if you observe, we are in already working with some specific platforms. We go with most of the times automation using with the Groovy. But still, since Groovy is internally using Java, Java is pure object-oriented programming. Even if you want to write hello world program, you must need class statement for Java. But here for hello world program, you don't need class. It's simply you can write print hello, it works. Print hello world, it works. But why we need to understand object oriented? This is optional, but I recommend. The reason is backend everything it is using Java libraries. So if you want to import Java libraries, or if you want to understand the existing Java code, at least if you know the basics, then it will be easy. But we will cover end to end here. So means what is encapsulation, what is inheritance, and what is abstraction, and what is polymorphism. In the polymorphism again, overloading and overriding. So everything we will cover that, so that you will understand in case if you want to know, like, how the Java library it is using, and then how actually sometimes, let's say you write combination of Java and Groovy code, it will be easy to understand. So that is the reason we are covering this as well. Okay. So this all, it takes actually how much time? 25 hours, we can say, almost more 1 month, we can say. Okay. This is the content. Now, I'm keep saying that, like, Java code you can execute. First, let's copy some Java code. Okay. I'll not copy anywhere code in the coming sessions. I'm just giving, since we have only 10 minutes time. So I'm just copying one Java code, Java hello world program. Okay, some basic Java code I'm trying to copy. This is how modules we import. Okay, so that we will see. I don't want to go with some that many lines of code. Just hello world program I'm trying to copy. This is what you can say. See, this is the actually Java code, right? When we use the Java, with the Java, if you want to run this code, first you need to compile the code with Java C. It will generate some dot class file, that is a binary file, right? And then if you want to see the output, my first Java program, actually this is the output. To get that output, first we need to compile. It generates dot class file, and then later you need to execute. So 2 steps, then only you will get the output. But now the same Java code, I don't want to execute with Java, I want to execute with the Groovy interpreter. So one single shot you will get the output, because internally it will compile and then it will give you directly the output. So you don't need to separately generate class program dot class binary file like Java. You can simply execute with one single execution. Let's try to see that. But before that, you may get confusion. Okay, this is a Java code and everything, it starts with class statement, and then there's this lot of code here. If you see the code itself now, you may think, okay, what is this public stat void main, and then is it required to learn everything? That's what I told, not required for Groovy. In Groovy, simple. What is the print statement? Println. What you want to print? I want to print my first Java program, or maybe my first Groovy program. Semicolon. In Java it is mandatory, but in Groovy it's optional. See, now I'm just trying to copy only this. And I'm trying to write a separate file again. Println. Even open and closed parenthesis is also optional here. But okay, if you want, you can write it, no problem. Let's see this. Semicolon I'm not giving, because I told semicolon is optional. Open and closed parenthesis is also optional, but the quotes double or single quote mandate. If you observe, println is actually Java function. Of course, we are using system.out.println, but you can use just println, or print also you can use. It works. But what is the difference between println? Means print, it will not give any new line while displaying the data. It will not give new line. Println, it will give you the new line. That is the difference. What is new line? Let's say hello, hi, bye. I'm writing three print statements, hello, hi, bye. But output, if you just write print statement, it will print like this in a single line output. But if you are using println it will give you with a new line. That is the only difference. Okay, we will see that anyway. So I am writing println my first Groovy program. Also, if you want to write another line, println, see I am not even using this open and closed parenthesis, hello world I am writing. There are two lines and Groovy script extension .groovy, it is mandatory. Save as I am using. And this is my sample program, sample.groovy or sample1.groovy. I am using sample1.groovy. And save as type, it should not be a normal text file. Because if you save as a normal text file, it will save like .groovy.txt again. I don't want to save this as a normal text file. I want to save the extension with .groovy. So save as type should be all types. Save as type should be what? All types and then save. So I have just saved this file sample1.groovy and I have two lines of code here. Println my first Groovy program, println hello world. So the output is what? My first Groovy program, hello world should print. So how to execute now? So we should execute this using with the command prompt, opening command prompt here. And where is this code actually? So simply this is my workspace now. So workspace is nothing but like I'm writing my project, everything, the code here in this location. So where is this location? This is the location, complete location. Copy this location and go to the command prompt cd change directory, paste it one single shot. And you can see dir. Dir is a command, DOS command. It display whatever files available in the directory, right? It's a Windows command. It's not relevant. It's not related to Groovy. So I have a file sample.groovy something sample1.groovy. I just created this, right? CLS can use for clearing the screen. Now I want to run this code. So if you want to run the code, the Groovy interpreter name is Groovy space. What is the file name? Sample1.groovy is the file. Enter. Now I can see the output here, my first Groovy program and hello world. So this is one way, means I am using normal text editor, Notepad or Notepad++ Edit Plus you can use. Or if you want to use IDEs, IDE means Integrated Development Environment. You can also use IDEs like Eclipse or Visual Studio Code. We can also use that. That we will see maybe after 10 sessions like that. If you want to work with any IDE, we will also see that how to work with IDE. But initially, my recommendation, understand the Groovy part, not the IDEs, not the text editors. That anyway, it is easy. But first understand how we are writing the code and then how we are executing, means how we are writing the logic and all. That is primary part here, right? That logic or writing the code we need to understand. Now I executed this code and you may have still doubt, okay, so the Java code, can we execute this Java code? Yeah, of course. I'm trying to save again, save as sample2.groovy. I'm trying to save as a Groovy extension and then see all types again I'm using, save it. And then let's try to run this code now. Groovy space sample2.groovy. Now this is actually Java program. See this, I executed with Groovy. It executed, right? My first Java program. This is what I told, like whatever Java code you have, you can execute with this Groovy. But whatever Groovy code you have, you cannot execute because Groovy code, it's a simple println I am using. I don't want to write entire code here because automation we are doing like this. I don't want to. I understand first of all what is that, public static environment. Nothing. I don't require that. But if you are not writing public static environment and all, Java, it will not understand if you are using Java compiler, but Groovy it understands, right? Because this is the Groovy syntax. But since it is everything using Java library, you can also execute Java code here using with the Java code like this. Now, if you want to run this as a Java, how we do? I think it is not required for us, but I'm just giving Java C and sample2.groovy. But before that, you go to this folder. There is no dot class file here. So we need to compile this Java. So there is a something extension is wrong, right? Extension. So the problem with that. So you need to first compile like that. It will generate a dot class file. And then we have to execute with the Java. That is how we do. But here, this is not required if you are using the Groovy. I hope it is clear now, but later we will also understand. I told that when we work with modules, most of the things, if you have a already Java code, how we can use this Java code in Groovy file, how to import that as a module. So that is main important actually. We'll cover that part. Okay. So I hope it is clear now what content we are covering and then how many hours it is taking and um, the content and then the duration of the course clear. So now it's open for questions. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
We, basically, we use any middlewares, Java, sometimes JavaScript and Groovy.